What happened on your worst date? I matched with this girl Jenna on a dating app and we've been texting for like 2 weeks. She seemed cool, sent funny memes, actually responded with more than one word. So, when she suggested meeting at this Italian place downtown, I was pretty excited. I got there first and waited outside for 10 minutes because I'm that guy who shows up early to everything. When she arrived, she looked exactly like her photos, which was already a win in my book. We hugged awkwardly and went inside. The hostess seated us at this little table by the window. Jenna seemed nervous, kept checking her phone and looking around. I figured first date jitters. I was nervous too. We ordered drinks and started talking about her job at some marketing firm. Then our waiter walked up to take our order. This tall guy with dark hair, probably mid-20s like us. The second he saw Jenna, he completely froze like mid-sentence, asking if we wanted appetizers. He just stopped talking and stared at her. Jenna's face went bright red. She wouldn't make eye contact with either of us. The waiter cleared his throat and finished taking our order, but his hands were shaking when he wrote it down. After he left, I asked if everything was okay. Jenna laughed it off and said, "Oh, that's just my ex lol. Didn't know he worked here." Then she quickly changed the subject to asking about my hobbies. But over the next 30 minutes, things got really weird. The waiter kept coming back to our table for no reason. First, he brought us breadsticks we didn't order. Then he refilled our water glasses 3 times in 10 minutes. Each time, he'd glare at me like I'd stolen his parking spot, that our food came out wrong. I ordered chicken parmesan, got spaghetti with no sauce. Jenna ordered a salad, got someone else's pizza. When we told him about the mix-up, he just stared at us for like 15 seconds before mumbling an apology. I was starting to feel uncomfortable. This wasn't just awkward ex energy. This dude looked genuinely upset. And I was sitting there like some innocent bystander, in whatever drama they had going on. Then it all exploded. The waiter came back with our correct orders, slammed the plates down harder than necessary, and looked straight at Jenna. "Really? You're already here with someone new? It's been 5 days? Jenna's face went pale. "Can we not do this here? Do what? Talk about how you spent the night at my place last Tuesday. Then completely ghosted me, and now you're on a date with this guy?" I wanted to disappear into the floor. Other diners were starting to stare. The waiter was getting louder and Jenna was sinking deeper into her chair. "Look, man," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "Maybe we should all just take a breath here." He turned to me with this look of pure hatred. "You have no idea what kind of person you're sitting with." That's when I realized this wasn't just an awkward encounter. This was a full-blown breakup disaster. And I was somehow the main character in someone else's messy drama. I stood up and said I was going to the bathroom. But really I was planning to just leave through the back exit. This whole situation was way too much for a first date with someone I barely knew. But as I was walking away, Jenna grabbed my arm. "Please don't leave me here with him. I'm so embarrassed. Just stay for like 10 more minutes, and then we can go." She looked genuinely panicked. So against my better judgment, I sat back down. The waiter had walked away, probably to cool off or get fired by his manager. We ate in complete silence. I kept thinking about how I could have been home watching Netflix and eating leftover Chinese food, instead of sitting in this nightmare. When we finally got the check, Jenna insisted on splitting it, which I thought was weird given the circumstances. We walked out to the parking lot and I was ready to say goodbye and never see her. I once had a coworker who was so obsessed with being the office hero that he accidentally burned down half the break room and tried to blame it on me. I worked at this tiny insurance office where nothing exciting ever happened. Our biggest daily thrill was when the printer jammed. Then we hired a new guy, Brandon. Brandon was the kind of dude who desperately needed everyone to think he was amazing, like he had a real-life audience watching him all the time. He bragged constantly about being the go-to guy at every job. First weekend, he told everyone he single-handedly modernized his last workplace by reorganizing their supply closet. That should tell you exactly what kind of person he was. The first time I knew something was off was when he unplugged my computer to plug in his electric kettle because he needed tea immediately. Didn't ask, didn't warn me, just shut my whole system down in the middle of a report. When I complained, he gave this fake motivational speech about patience and teamwork. A week later, he told our boss I'd been struggling with deadlines because he'd unplugged me. Boss didn't buy it, but still. The man was exhausting. It all had peak insanity on a Tuesday morning. Brandon came in bragging about how he learned how to make gourmet office omelets, using only a mug, eggs, and the microwave. He kept calling it chef mode. Everyone ignored him. So he decided he had to prove himself. At about 10 a.m., he started cracking eggs into a mug right in the break room. Then he added mushrooms, ham, shredded cheese, even hot sauce, basically an entire breakfast buffet shoved into a coffee mug. I told him microwaving that much stuff wasn't safe. He said, "Oh please, I'm not some amateur." Then he put the mug in the microwave for 5 minutes. I didn't even know microwaves could count that high for something liquid. 30 seconds in, the thing started bubbling. A minute later, the mug started making a weird popping noise. By 2 minutes, you could smell burning cheese. Brandon insisted this was normal and said, "This is how restaurants do it." Spoiler, restaurants do not do it like this. Around the 3-minute mark, the microwave made a sound I can only describe as a dying robot whale, and then BOOM giant splatter of half-exploded omelet everywhere. The microwave door actually popped open. The inside looked like someone had murdered a chicken with dynamite. Smoke started pouring out. The fire alarm started beeping. Someone yelled to unplug it. Brandon panicked and grabbed the entire microwave with both hands while yelling, "I got this." Then immediately dropped it because it was on fire. Actual flames. On the break room counter, I grabbed the nearby fire extinguisher and sprayed it out, and the entire counter ended up covered in foam and egg chunks. Brandon started coughing dramatically and then, "Swear to God," he screamed, "who did this?" Like the omelet bomb magically wasn't his fault. Our boss ran in, saw the mess, and demanded to know what happened. Brandon looked right at me and said, "She was trying to heat up some weird food and I tried to stop her, but it exploded." I didn't even get a chance to respond before the security guard walked in holding a USB drive, saying, "We have cameras, you know." The look on Brandon's face was priceless. Like he suddenly remembered cameras exist. They pulled the footage. Everyone saw Brandon making his cursed microwave omelet, setting the break room on fire, then pointing at me like a cartoon villain. Our boss sent him home immediately pending review. Brandon came back the next day acting like he was a victim. He said I embarrassed him by letting him blame me, and that a good coworker would have taken responsibility to protect his reputation. I couldn't believe he said that with a straight face. He lasted 3 more weeks before getting fired for using company time to film TikToks of himself, fixing things that weren't broken. The best part, months later, the microwave incident became a running inside joke at the office. Anytime something went wrong, someone would say, "Brandon, is that you?" And everyone would crack up. Honestly, 0 regrets. I didn't even do anything except exist in the blast radius of his stupidity. But if ruining his wannabe hero storyline was bad, then fine, I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Storytime, I'm divorcing you, my wife said coldly over the phone while I was recovering from open heart surgery. David and I are taking the business. You've been holding us back for years, David. My business partner of 20 years, my best friend. I was 58, lying in a hospital bed with tubes in my arms, and my wife was stealing my father's company with the man I trusted most. They thought I was weak, helpless, finished. They had no idea my father had built a legal trap for exactly this scenario. By the time I left the hospital, they both lost everything and were heading to federal prison. This is how I destroyed them. My name is James Richardson, and it started with chest pains during a Wednesday morning meeting. My business partner, David Chen, looked concerned. "James, you okay? You look pale." "I'm fine," I managed. But 30 minutes later, I was in an ambulance heading to County General with what they called a significant cardiac event. The surgery was successful, but I'd need 6 weeks recovery. As I lay in the ICU, barely conscious, my phone buzzed, 17 missed calls from my wife, Patricia. When I finally called her back the next morning, her voice was ice. "James, we need to talk. I just had open heart surgery." "Patricia, I'm filing for divorce. David and I have been planning this for months. We're taking Richardson Manufacturing. You've been dead weight, holding back growth. The company needs fresh vision." I couldn't breathe. David, my partner. He's my partner now in every way. We've been together for 2 years. She paused. "He's everything you stopped being a decade ago. I'm in a hospital bed, which makes us perfect. You're vulnerable. The board meets next week to vote you out as CEO. David takes over. I stay as coup, you get severance. Be grateful. My father built that company. Your father is dead. James, he's been dead for 3 years. I run operations. David has the vision. You just tread water." The line went dead. I stared at the ceiling. Tubes in my arms, chest screaming with pain. My wife of 30 years had just gutted me worse than any surgeon. But Patricia didn't know one critical thing. My father, Robert Richardson, had trusted no one. When he died 3 years ago, he'd done something brilliant. He created a failsafe, a legal trap, and I was about to spring it. I made one call to Howard Chen, David's older brother and a corporate attorney. "Howard, it's James. Did you know your brother was sleeping with my wife and trying to steal my company?" Long silence. "Christ, when did you find out?" "Yesterday in the ICU, James. I need to ask you something critical. Did your father give you a document called the Richardson Trust Amendment?" My heart monitor beeped faster. Yes. In my safe deposit box. He said, only open it if something catastrophic happened. I never looked at it. You need to look at it now, James. I helped your father draft that document of what I think is there. Your wife and my brother just destroyed themselves. 3 hours later, Howard arrived with my safe deposit box. Inside was a thick envelope marked open only in emergency. What I read made me smile for the first time in 3 days. My father had seen this coming. The document was brilliant and brutal. Key points. Richardson Manufacturing wasn't a standard corporation. It was held in an irrevocable trust. Patricia and David were employees, not owners. Zero equity. If anyone tried to remove me as CEO through exploitation of medical incapacity, they'd be immediately terminated and liable for damages. Any trade secret theft triggered criminal charges. But the most beautiful part, Clause 7. If my spouse filed for divorce while simultaneously trying to take the company, she'd forfeit all marital assets. It would be considered attempted corporate theft disguised as divorce. My father had built a perfect trap and Patricia had walked right into it. Can they fight this? I asked Howard. They can try, but your father was meticulous. This is airtight. He pulled out his phone. And James, they've already violated multiple clauses. David's been emailing board members promising equity stakes and raises if they vote you out. That's corporate bribery. Patricia's been moving company money to a separate account she created. Richardson Consulting LLC. That's embezzlement. I leaned back against my pillows. Howard, I want to let them think they've won. Let them have their board meeting. Let them celebrate. Then we destroy them. He smiled coldly. The meeting's next Tuesday. How's Friday for ruining their lives? Friday works perfectly. Over the next week, I played the defeated invalid perfectly. I sent apologetic emails to the board about my condition, saying I understood if they needed temporary leadership changes. David responded with fake sympathy. Take all the time you need, buddy. We've got everything under control. Patricia didn't respond at all. My daughter Rachel, a state prosecutor, drove down from Boston. When I told her what was happening, her face went white. I never liked David and Mom's been different lately, colder. She's been planning to steal everything, I said. On Monday night before the board meeting, my phone exploded, 67 missed calls from Patricia, David, and board members. I ignored them all and sent one email to Howard. It's time. Activate the trust. Tuesday morning at 9:47 a.m. I walked into the Richardson Manufacturing boardroom in my best suit accompanied by Howard and two other attorneys. Patricia's face went white. David froze mid-presentation. PowerPoint behind him showing Richardson Manufacturing 2.0. A new vision. James, David stammered. You should be resting. I've rested enough, I said, taking my seat at the head of the table. David had been standing in it. Please continue your presentation about my father's company. Patricia's eyes narrowed. The board is discussing transition options. Transition options? I repeated. Howard explained to the board what's actually happening here. Howard distributed documents. Ladies and gentlemen, Richardson Manufacturing is not a standard corporation. It's held in an irrevocable trust established by Robert Richardson. James is a sole beneficiary. Chen and Mrs. Richardson are employees. They own zero equity. David's face drained of color. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that your recent actions, Patricia filing for divorce while trying to seize a company, moving funds to an unauthorized account, and David attempting to bribe board members, have triggered multiple clauses in the trust agreement. Howard turned to David. You've been embezzling. You promised board members equity stakes that don't exist and can't be granted. You violated your fiduciary duty. This is David said, voice shaking. James, we've been partners for 20 years. Were we? I asked quietly. Because partners don't sleep with each other's wives. Partners don't plot to steal companies while their friend recovers from heart surgery. Partners don't call each other dead weight in emails to the board. The room went silent. Here's what happens now. I continued. David Chen, you're fired. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out. You have 30 minutes to collect personal items. Any company property stays here. You'll sign an NDA and never work in this industry again. You can't. Absolutely can, Howard. Show him Clause 8, Howard pointed to the document. Any officer who attempts to remove the trustee through medical exploitation forfeits all severance and benefits. Mr. Chen, you leave now or we call the police for embezzlement. David looked desperately at Patricia. She was staring at the documents, her face ashen. Patricia, I said, my voice harder than I'd ever heard it. You filed for divorce March 4th while I was in the ICU. You told me you were taking the company. You opened an unauthorized account and moved company funds. Clause 7 is clear. If my spouse files for divorce while trying to seize corporate assets, She forfeits all marital property and becomes liable for attempted theft. That can't be legal, she whispered. It's completely legal, Howard said. Your husband's father saw this possibility decades ago. He protected his life's work, you just destroyed yours trying to steal it. Martin Crawford, a board member who'd worked with my father for 40 years, spoke up. James, I had no idea. David told me you were stepping down for health reasons. I said I needed to speak with you first. Thank you, Martin. I turned to the other board members. Did anyone vote to remove me? Silence, head shakes. Then there's no coup. Just 2 employees being terminated for cause. I stood. David, Patricia, you have 1 hour to vacate after that. Security treats you as trespassers. David's face went red. You bastard. We were going to make this company great. You were going to steal it. I corrected. Patricia found her voice filled with venom. You've been a lousy husband for years. Boring, passionless, dead inside. David made me feel alive. David made you an accomplice, I said. Now you're both going to lose everything. Security arrived. As they escorted them out, Patricia turned back. You'll regret this. No, I said quietly. I really won't. Over the next 3 months, the legal system destroyed them. Patricia tried to fight the trust amendment with 3 different law firms. All said the same thing. The document was airtight. She walked into a trap built decades ago. The divorce finalized in 8 weeks. Under Clause 7, she forfeited the house investments and any business claims. She kept $40,000 in personal savings and her car. Everything else was mine. David tried claiming wrongful termination. Howard showed him the emails promising illegal equity stakes. David's lawyer told him to drop it immediately or face criminal charges. But the most satisfying moment came 6 weeks after the board meeting. Patricia and David tried starting a competing company using Richardson's client lists and trade secrets. They contacted our biggest clients, claiming they were the real brains behind our success. What they didn't know, Martin Crawford had been feeding me information the whole time. Every client they contacted called me immediately. Every secret they tried to steal was documented. The state attorney general filed criminal charges, corporate espionage, theft of trade secrets, fraud. My daughter Rachel prosecuted Patricia's case personally. She was brutal and brilliant. The jury convicted Patricia on 4 counts. The judge sentenced her to 3 years in federal prison plus $100,000 in restitution. David took a plea deal. 2 years in federal prison, full restitution, permanent ban from corporate positions. I attended both sentencings when the judge asked for my victim impact statement. At Patricia's sentencing, I stood. 30 years ago, I married you believing we'd build a life together. We did, a family, a home, a business. But somewhere along the way, you decided that wasn't enough. Instead of leaving honestly, you chose to destroy everything. I paused. You didn't just betray me. You betrayed your daughter, my father's legacy. Every employee who trusted you for money that was never yours, and a man who was using you. Patricia was crying. I felt nothing. I hope prison gives you time to think about what you lost. Not the money, not the company, but the only person who actually loved you despite your flaws. I walked out, never looked back. 8 months after my surgery, Richardson Manufacturing was thriving. I promoted Martin to coup. We hired Dr. Lisa Chen as VP of Operations. She turned her efficiency around in 3 months. But the biggest surprise came on a Tuesday in November. My daughter Rachel showed up with someone unexpected. A woman my age with kind eyes and a warm smile. Dad, this is Dr. Sarah Martinez, the cardiac surgeon who saved your life. I stood confused. Dr. Martinez, is my heart okay? She smiled. Your heart is fine. I'm here because Rachel thought we should meet socially. I'm recently divorced. I love classic cars and terrible puns, and apparently I saved your life. Rachel thinks that's a good foundation for dinner. I looked at my daughter, grinning. You're setting me up. Dad, you sent Mom to prison for corporate crimes. You've earned happiness with someone who won't steal your company. Dr. Martinez laughed. I promise I have zero interest in manufacturing, but I do make excellent paella. And Rachel says, you've never been to Spain. I haven't. Well, she extended her hand. Maybe we should fix that. 6 months later, I was on a beach in Barcelona with Sarah, watching the sunset. My phone buzzed. Rachel, update. Mom's parole denied. David's appeal rejected. Company profits up 30%. You won. Dad enjoys Spain. I showed Sarah the message. She squeezed my hand. Do you feel guilty? I thought honestly, no. They made their choices. They thought I was weak and easy to destroy. They forgot my father taught me to always have a backup plan, and to never underestimate good documentation. Sarah laughed. Remind me never to commit corporate fraud against you, noted, I said, kissing her. That night, Howard called. Patricia's trying to sue you from prison. Claims the trust was fraudulent. Can she win? Not a chance. I looked at Sarah and smiled. Let her waste her time. She's in prison. David's in prison. The company is safe. I'm in Spain with an amazing woman. Patricia can sue from her cell all she wants. I've already won. I hung up. Everything okay? Sarah asked. Everything's perfect, I said. And for the first time in decades, I meant it. Patricia served 2 years before parole. She moved to Arizona. Works at a grocery store. She reached out to Rachel once asking for money. Rachel blocked her. David served 18 months. He's working construction in Nevada and will never hold a corporate position again. Richardson Manufacturing is worth $20 million more than when my father died. I'm 62, fully recovered, married to Sarah. She makes me laugh every day. Rachel made partner at her law firm. She calls twice weekly. Dad, I'm proud of how you handled everything. You could have been vindictive. Instead, you were just fair. My father would have liked that last week. I found a letter my father had written when he created the trust. Marked read only when the storm has passed. James, if you're reading this, someone tried to take what I built from you. I'm sorry you went through that. But I'm not sorry I prepared for it. Trust is earned. Protection is smart. Documentation is everything. You're stronger than you know. And you're worthy of loyalty, even if people forgot that. Build something better. Live a better life. Never apologize for protecting what's yours. Love, Dad. I put the letter in my desk beside a photo of Sarah and me in Spain. Then I emailed the board. Quarterly meeting next week. Agenda: 5-year expansion plans. Let's build something my father would be proud of. Patricia and David thought they were stealing my future. Instead, they just cleared the path to a better one. They thought I was weak. They forgot my father was a brilliant man who trusted no one. And they paid for that mistake with everything they had. If this story moved you, if you felt the betrayal, the justice, or the redemption deep inside, please take a moment to hit like. It tells me this story mattered. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your words don't just echo, they inspire the next story. And if you believe in stories that stand for truth, loyalty, and poetic justice, please subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell. You're not just a viewer. You're part of this journey. Thank you for being.